Hello, hello, and welcome to episode number 175 of Pro NoCoders Office Hours. I'm your host, Tonya. We're here with members Thomas and Brittany, and Mike Kim. And Juan is going to steal the show tonight. He's going to be helping us out with our bubble questions. So what Office Hours is an invitation to our Office Hours members at pronocoders.com to come onto our Zoom, which we broadcast live, and we will answer any questions they have about Bubble with respect to the fact that we don't have all of the answers and nobody does, right? So we will do our best, and we promise that you won't suffer alone if we can't answer your question. But we do pretty good. So getting started this evening, Brittany said that she had some questions, so we'll let her take the floor.
Okay, I actually have some responsiveness questions. I started redesigning the app, and I'm a little confused as to why it's not like, I don't know, I guess I don't have it set up right, but
Oh, this is the new responsive engine?
yes.
Okay.
Wow, that looks fantastic, Brittany.
Thanks. But I don't know how to like how Thomas has his, where it can,
Oh, it's actually responsive.
like, yeah, it's.
So go to the page again, the UI builder, double click on the outside of all of that and go to layout. So it's a column. That seems right. Okay. Go back to it. Is that it for the layout? Is it like?
That's it.
Okay.
Unless, oh, do I need to put mobile?
I think it should be custom.
Probably centered, right? Wait,
Oh,
what was that one?
No, I think it should be custom because she had like a fixed, like the width was different. I will do undone, like Control C.
So so question, I'm just used to doing like 1080 because that's just the number that I felt like was like a common for like computers or whatever, but it may not be. I that was just my guess. But every time you start a new page, it's always at 980. Is that the common thing to do, or do I need, like, would you guys suggest that I leave it there? Because that's like always what comes up, but I always change it to 1080. I have no clue why. I don't even know if anybody ever told me to do it that way.
I mean, you can do it with different ones and can work fine. It depends on the content and whatever. For example, in a course that I did in the past with Gregory John, they have a bootcamp only for design, and they used 960, if I'm not wrong. But it depends of your content. I will use for now the default of Babel, because yeah, they are launching their new responsive engine. But yeah, don't worry about like the specific number. I will use maybe something like, give me a second. You're using any assets from Canvas?
No, this is everything I put on here.
Okay.
Brittany.
Yeah, or
I'm sorry, Juan, did you have something to say?
No, go ahead.
I'm going to help you out really quickly. So on that main group there, containing the Made for Crafters everywhere, click on that, double click it. Okay, so that's a row. And then each container in there, I want to see what content type.
Okay, so this is one container, and then I have this one as a container. So they're set up as this one is a column, and this one is just
Yeah. So just to keep it in mind, fixed and aligned to parent overlap one another when they overlap one another when you try to collapse them to mobile height. So it's not usually the best. I think what you're doing right now is pretty good with column and row.
Okay.
So what you have to do is you essentially have to tinker around with minimum, maximum width. So for example,
right here.
big element here, the big one containing everything here. Yeah, click on it. Not the image, but the whole container.
The actual, this right here.
Yep. So go to
Okay.
layout. Uncheck make this element fixed width.
Okay.
Okay. So 980, I guess, is the biggest you want to go, and then 320 would be the smallest you want to go.
Okay. I get it. I was thinking that, but so what about here? Does it matter if I'm talking about like the height of it?
It usually depends, but just for practice sake, we'll just stick to minimum, maximum width. So go back. First of all, let's see what that does on the previewer.
Okay. Oh.
So try collapsing it really quickly. Anything. Yep.
It's still.
Yeah. So each group inside that big group needs to have a max width.
Okay.
So you're probably gonna, when you collapse that group, main group, because I think it's a column, right?
Yeah. The bigger group or this?
Yeah, that big group.
That's a row.
I have to like get in there and like tinker around with it myself. But essentially what you want to do is that with every group inside of that main group, you essentially have to uncheck the
make this with
the fixed width, and then you want to tinker around between different sizes.
Okay. I get that. Okay.
Yeah.
So what about the for the reusables?
I had a bit of trouble with a header reusable, trying to get it to the floating group to stick to the top. So I was just working with a regular floating group. But for the most part, just if you want things to collapse, stick to columns and rows. If you want things to collapse on top of one another, and focus on ensuring that every element within that element is flexible so that it has a min max width.
Right. Okay.
And you don't have to go too crazy about min width. Like I think 320 is pretty good, maybe a little smaller. So most devices do 280.
Okay.
And I think if you just tinker around with that, you should get a pretty good idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll keep messing around with it.
Cool.
Is that it? Brittany, do you have any other questions?
Probably so, but I'm still, you know how when you're in the process of, working, the questions will come.
I was sending in the chat a link for some class from Gregory John about the question that you asked about the width of the page. So this is from the previous engine, responsive engine, but the main logic about the page size remains the same. So basically, he liked to work with width that he can then collapse to make it and make it looks well in mobile, and he preferred a 320 pixels for mobile for small mobiles, because not all phones are iPhones or are new mobile devices. So like the smallest ones were 320 pixels, and thinking first in mobile, he uses 1280 pixels or 960 pixels for the width of the page. Yeah, if you can view the video, maybe in minute, maybe 35 approx, 36. He shows like multiple squares, like 4 squares that will be like the 4 columns, thinking in the mobile columns that will be collapsed one below the other. And yeah, you can check them.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. So yeah, I will use first for now the custom of Bubble, but if not, maybe 960.
Okay.
That was the last that I heard from him, that he was like trying to do super nice stuff in design.
Okay, thank you so much.
No worries.
Awesome. What do we want to talk about for the rest of the office hours? Anybody got anything?
Did you get any requests on the Facebook page?
Let's go look. We did have a new member post earlier today. Oh, that's the wrong one. Here. We crossed the 1,000 threshold. That's exciting. Let's see here. And there we are. Okay. Okay, so Louise asked, she said she wants to build this, although I'm not entirely sure what this is, but it requires mapping, geolocation, augmented reality, and card collection. Will this be possible in Bubbles? So I answered, her first problem is she definitely needs a laptop or a desktop. You can't, if anybody's watching this and you haven't played around in Bubble, it's not mobile friendly. So you definitely need a laptop or a desktop in order to work effectively in Bubble. Mapping and geolocation are fairly straightforward. It comes sort of with integrated into Bubble. You can put your Google Maps API and geolocation API, and then you can use those features. I don't know. Does anybody on the call know anything about doing AR with Bubble? I've never seen anything with it.
I've heard it's pretty limited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me the same. And in addition to Tonya, I have read in the forum in the past, some guys about trying to work with an iPad Pro and with the M1 chip, but even using like the desktop version in the browser of the iPad, it was not working fine to work with Bubble. So yeah, some guy was telling about he bought an iPad Pro to work and travel. Like he had a travel and he was like, oh, I will work in an iPad Pro, but no, it was crazy and he could not.
Nope. Nope, it doesn't work. So we are working on a video in the vault to answer this one, how to generate reports from Bubble from his repeating groups. So Osama wants to generate PDF reports from his repeating groups, and we're going to make video on how to use PDF Conjurer in order to do that.
Great.
So that should be fun. Coming to a vault near you in the next week or so. Let's see. This one was fun. I solved this one. I don't know if anybody saw this. Converting numbers to time. So Robert was working with the Google Place API, and the API is returning like 1,000 is for 10 a.m. or 4 zeros for 12 a.m. So I made him a video that will eventually make its way into the vault as well. I can show you how to do that. It's really simple, actually. Let's see if I did it in here. account back. Oh, I think I did it in the same place where I was working on this. So instead of using the Google Places API, what I did was I used a sandbox account that I created in Airtable. So I think I need to sign out of this. And after we release the feature where I can hide my API keys, and I can start sharing from my actual one. I'm a subscriber to Airtable. I love Airtable. I think it's awesome. I think I logged in with this one. Yeah, so I made this base and I shared the API key and the base and the table and everything and synced it up. So to replicate the return that you would get from Google Place API with the 4 characters that are they're digits, but they're in text form. And that's what I explained to Rob, is you want to make sure you're receiving this in text form and that you don't tell it that you're expecting a number, because technically this is not a number, because 4 zeros is just 0 as a digit, right? And so what I did here is I'm returning all of the cells, all of the records from that Airtable here. And in this one, this is how I would format those characters into a readable time as he asked. So I said the current cells first tables label, which is those 4 characters, truncated to 2. So that's just going to take the first 2 characters. And then I did a colon and then the second 2 characters. So truncated from the end to 2. So to put the colon right in between, in the middle. And then I set it by default to being AM, right? So then what I did in the conditions, because this will work for basically from 1 a.m. until 11:59 a.m. But I have to account for 2 conditions. If I take the first 2 characters and I convert them to a number and it's greater than 11, then I want to switch it. And instead of doing just the first 2 characters, I want to convert them to a number and subtract 12. So the reason why is because those 4 characters work with a 24-hour clock as opposed to a 12-hour clock. So what this does is if it's 1 o'clock in a 24-hour clock, it's 13. And so it takes the first two characters, converts it to 13, and then subtracts 12 to give you 1, right? And then the colon, and then the last 2 as normal, and then switch it to PM at the end instead of AM. And then finally, you have to account for it being all zeros for 12 AM. So current cells, if you truncate it to 2 and what you get is 2 zeros, then make it 12 colon and the rest, and then leave it at AM. And that works pretty well. So in my Airtable here, I have 3 records starting, it's putting them in reverse order. So this would be 11:30 p.m., this would be 10 a.m., and this would be 12 a.m. And you see 11:30 and 10 a.m. and 12 a.m. So it was a fun little prototype to do the other night. Let's see, what else? What was that one?
I said cool.
Yeah. And then Sam was asking about if Canvas is playing nicely with the new responsive engine yet? No, we're waiting. We're waiting, Sam. What do you think about the new responsive editor one?
I haven't played with it.
You haven't
really,
had time yet,
to be
yeah.
honest. Yeah.
Because you're
I've
working
been
on
very
like
busy.
30 different apps that don't use it.
Uh-huh. So
Yeah.
yeah, for me, it is not like a priority currently right now. I want to spend some time during holidays to read all the stuff that I can and view all the videos that I can and play around with it to be prepared for the next year, maybe next releases from Canvas and some other stuff to
Sure.
now work with that. Yeah.
Sure. Anybody who is watching who does want to kind of start studying up on different resources, we actually have a few for you. We've done, I think, 4 dedicated things for the new responsive engine. So if you go to YouTube and you search Pro NoCoders new responsive, we've got Eli was cloning the Bubbles homepage with the new responsive editor. He did another one that was a little more instructive about how to build with group layouts in Bubbles new responsive editor. And then Justin did designing and messaging.
I will begin with those.
Yeah, Justin did one where he was designing a messaging UI using the new responsive editor. And then episode number 148 of office hours, Pro NoCoders office hours. Eli, that was the day that the new responsive editor was released, and Eli came on and he built a dashboard layout using the new responsive editor. So then another one that's really good that I really like is Zubair. He's done a few different tutorials as well, and they're very good. This one is just like 2 hours of content and very instructive, like you would expect a class. He calls it a workshop, which makes sense. I enjoyed that one. I attended that one live. And then he's also done repeating groups and tables, a shorter tutorial here. So that's good. And apparently he's also doing a new site, I think, or spinning off something new called Expert NoCoders. Sounds familiar. So let's see what that's all about. And what else can I tell you, crew? Any more questions? Oh,
Yeah,
I
maybe
have one
project.
from the other day.
Sure.
So we were working with the new responsive, and we were having trouble getting, what it was is anytime we had, so you can see here that I've got three records in this repeating group, and we wanted it to be horizontal scrolling. And you can see here that it is horizontal scrolling, right? But the scroll bar is way down here, and the last cell ends about here. So the question from Ritesh was, how could we move this scroll bar up? And I couldn't figure it out, and nobody was able to figure it out on the call. And what Eli said to do when we asked him, because we submitted it to the vault, and he said, oh, I know how to do this, no big deal.
With a code there in the HTML?
No,
Header?
nope. So what it is in this repeating group, we have the repeating group set as so that it will have not a fixed number of rows and not a set number of columns, and the scroll direction to horizontal. And the thing is if I click to set fixed number of rows, that horizontal scrolling disappears. So you have to do that and want to do that anyway. And so this is this is fine. That's not a problem. The problem is that I have my layout of the page is set to column, and that's my main group that's holding this repeating group is the page. And actually what happens is if I make it a row like that and I preview, it fixes it, right? Kind of, sort of, it brings it up here. So, oh, what it did is it put these all three in a row this way. So let's go back here and see what else I need to do to make it work. So this is the repeating group, and that's fine. And the cells container layout, make that the column. And then current users first, current use. What happened to the rest of my groups? That's weird. Let's see what that did. Okay, so I have my three. Oh, but it's way off to the side. See, because I made them super large. So that's the desired effect. I mean, obviously this is not a pretty example, but that's the desired effect, was that it would make it large enough. It would bring the scroll bar up. So let's see here, I could probably make the minimum height of the repeating group a little larger. Let's go with 120. Yeah, and so now I can scroll instead. Little tricks, I tell you, in the new responsive editor. So yeah, it's been a busy week at Pro NoCoders. We've been having fun.
Yes.
Any requests for the next members only tutorial? Can you guys think of anything you want covered there? We did active campaign on Sunday. No?
I'm sorry. I have another question that maybe
Sure.
Tom can answer. I'm gonna share. So I've been playing around with it, and I'm starting to understand it a little. But the only thing that I'm noticing is I have this set amount of pixels away, and when you try to do responsive, it stays like that. But how do I
Try this.
How do I?
Try this on that group that you have the margin of 160 to the left. Get rid of that.
Okay.
And then is that Yana logo and then the Yana craft text? Is
That's in a group.
so those two things are together? Okay, now click on the main container.
This container.
Yep, go to layout. And then you see where it says horizontal alignment? Click the option all the way to the right. Okay, it didn't do anything.
Maybe.
Click that.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, that's for that. Okay, hold on. I think I know what it did. Hold on. Here, this one. But then it's going to separate. Why did it do that? That was in a group. I'm not understanding.
Here, try this. This actually will probably be a lot easier. Click on the main group container again.
Okay.
And scroll up. Yeah, click that. Do align to parent. Yep. Okay, so those two things are, you're gonna probably have to expand that group so those two things can fit side by side.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Um,
where it says width.
Yeah, I have to make sure I'm in the group and not
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
just okay.
So expand the width. The width. Go to the width option.
I'm sorry, my kids.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought you just didn't hear me.
No, it's fine. Okay, you say go to the width.
Yep. Expand that. Just make it fixed width for now.
Okay.
And then expand it to like 200 or something.
Expand it here until it's like you said 200.
Yes, yeah, just do 200. Did it expand or did it go back?
No, it went back. I'm not sure why. Oh, but whoa, it's not doing anything.
Yeah, it expanded. So
Oh,
now
it did.
click on that. Click on Unicraft.
Okay, I see.
So what is that? Oh, the container on that is row.
Mm-hmm.
You can just, it's a little, you're probably gonna have to expand that a little bit. So you're just gonna have to expand the group so you can get those two things to fit together side by side.
Okay, so is this hold on. No, that's not. Okay. I'm getting so confused.
It's okay. I get it. I'm just trying to figure out. So there's the Yena logo and then there's the Unicraft text. What's going on? Why are they
So okay, so both of these are actually
Oops, you did.
I have it as an image because I made this in a different made this in Canva. So
Okay.
both of these are images. So that's not text. I don't know if that makes any difference.
So expand that group to like 300 because it seems like the group is really tight. Yeah. Okay. So click on the group again. The group is row. No, that's okay. Why is it?
No.
Click Unicraft. The text. Yep. Go up. The layout is row. And then click a logo real quick. Trying to figure out, is a logo inside that group?
It should have been, unless
If those two things are inside the group, then they would be stacking horizontal. Like
right. Hold on, let me make. Oh, I can't do that. Let's move the group. It's not. It wasn't. I don't know why. Okay, hold on. So that means I need to. I wonder if I can move the group over. Yeah, and then I can grab this.
Group, put that inside the Unicraft text group. Yep.
Oh. It's kind of hard for me to.
I get you. You can try ungrouping Unicraft text.
Yeah.
And then just regrouping those two together.
Okay. So
just, yeah, right click Unicraft and then ungroup.
Yep.
And then get rid of that group. And then put that inside that container. Yeah, you can do that too. I don't know if you.
I'm not understanding what's happening here because
Here, let's just do this. For now, just erase Unicraft.
Okay.
And just you'll work with that later. And click on the container that says home, about us, how it works, the main one.
Okay.
Open up the property editor.
Oh.
Go to layout. And then this is row. Yep, do that. Yep. So check out the responsiveness on that real quick. Should be pretty good.
Ooh, it's going over.
Yeah, you're gonna have to work that, because I think that's row. I'd have to go around in there and tinker around with it, but for the most part, you could see that like expanded fully.
Okay.
You can see that it's pretty fluid.
Mhm.
You're just gonna have to work in that container group and figure out the various sizing so that you can get things
Right.
to stack on top of each other.
So,
But you're just gonna have to tinker around with it.
right, I think I have an idea. I don't know if it would work. So say if I would
You might have
do,
to do column in the center instead of row. You might have to do a column on that. Like once it like goes to a certain page width, expand into a vertical column. I could show you this at
I'm
another
about to
point.
say, I don't even know how to.
It's okay. Don't worry. Yeah, but for now, I would say just to get a hang of it, because you don't want to
Yeah,
overwhelm yourself.
right.
Tinker around with align to parent as you are now, and then just inside that container group, home about us, how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Tinker around with the settings and like minimum max width.
Gotcha.
Keep
Okay.
testing, and then if you have any problems, you can just reach out to me.
Right. All right. Thanks.
Yep.
Thomas is the expert in office hours on responsive editor because Juan and I haven't had time to pick it up at all, but you've been working really hard. It's very impressive, Thomas.
Thank you.
Mhm.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it is. I've enjoyed what I have done in the responsive editor, and I'm starting to use it more and more. So I've even heard someone say recently he might be a pro no-coder, say that he doesn't want to work without the responsive editor anymore. So he's going to start picking and choosing projects only that where he can use the responsive editor. So,
Mr. Spain.
yeah. Awesome, guys. Well, if we don't have any more questions for office hours, we can wrap it up and move into the after hours section. Anybody? Going once, going twice?
I'm good.
No? Okay. So what after hours is when we are done with the main portion of office hours, we turn off the live broadcast and the recording, and we can just relax as members and talk about whatever comes to mind. Also, usually related to Bubble, but sometimes not. Sometimes it's business related, marketing related, other questions. Sometimes it's things that we just didn't want to broadcast live to the world, but you can't get into after hours unless you're a member, which means you have to go to pronocoders.com and sign up to become an office hours member. The cost is $99 per month. And what that gets you is 6 office hours sessions per week. It gets you discounts on one-on-one coaching and gets you access to our private Slack. And yeah, and it's pretty awesome. And the price is going up. Right now, it's just $99 per month, but as of the 1st of January, 2022, the price is going to $119 per month. So if you have any interest in seeing what Pro NoCoders is all about, go ahead and sign up now, lock in your rate at $99 per month, and come in and let us help you answer some Bubble questions. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will be back here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time for Office Hours episode number 176. See you then.